Hello, everyone. Welcome back to College Football Corner, little weekend preview show. Not a ton of top tier slated games this weekend. There are 3 or 4, but I think for the most part, all the top tier teams have a little bit of an easy break. Auburn, TCU, Alabama. A lot of the programs and the teams that we really highlighted last week really have a nice little bounce, like Ohio State against Hawaii. So for the most part, I think the most entertaining one is the Oregon Ducks Michigan State game. The Saturday night game. It's going to be a really, really good one because I think you look at the way that things shaped last year, and it's basically the same situation. We had Michigan State on the road in Eugene, Oregon last year. This year, both teams play each other again, but Oregon is going on the road this time. And it could not be more interesting because I think Oregon right now, they gave up 42 points to Eastern Washington. I did not get to watch that one. It was only on the Pac-12 network, but of course we will all get to watch Oregon this week. But I think that's extraordinarily concerning. The fact that Oregon's defense, look, their offense looked like it didn't skip a beat. I've talked a lot about Vernon Adams Jr., and I think he kind of fits perfectly into that Oregon system. There's a reason the guy won the job in 2 weeks. Clearly, his athleticism, his arm strength, everything that they want to do there. I think Mark Helfrich has the confidence in him, and that's why he gave him that starting job over Jeff Lokey. But I think at the same time, you've got to look at that their trouble defensively and think, look, if Eastern Washington was able to score 42 points against Oregon, what's Michigan State going to do? Now, Michigan State under Mark D'Antonio has never been known for their cornerstone offenses, but I think Connor Cook has shown the ability. He's shown his progression. There's a lot of scouts who really like his cool, calm demeanor. I've even heard some people refer to him a little bit like Tom Brady-esque, but that is going a far way. But at the same time, look, Connor Cook, I think he's going to have a big day against this Oregon defense. I think this game is really all going to come down to how is Vernon Adams Jr. in his first game with the Oregon Ducks on the road going to fare? How's this Oregon offense going to go? Because clearly at home, week 1 against Eastern Washington, it looked perfect. It looked like it didn't skip a beat. The spacing, the speed, they're putting up a million points. They're running all over the place. But what happens when you go on the road here? Michigan State, Mark D'Antonio's defense, it's a little bit different than Eastern Washington. And you're on the road. It's a tough environment. This is a very good defense. We know Mark D'Antonio always brings a very good defense to the table. What's going to happen here? And I think it's interesting the fact that last year, Oregon, it was a difficult game. Marcus Mariota really had one of the defining moments of his career. Oregon was struggling in that game, and then Marcus Mariota kind of just made a ton of these plays with his athleticism, with his arm, and he's able to bring the Ducks and they win that one and really launch a successful season. But this is an interesting one here because, again, this is an early, difficult test on the road. Now, I think it would be a little bit more manageable for Vernon Adams Jr. if this game was at home. But this is a road game, and clearly with the defense, the way that it looked, giving up 42 points. Now, I don't think that Michigan State really blew the doors off anybody in their first week. But at the same time, I think you need it. I think you need that warm-up for some. Some teams don't need to blow the doors off anybody in week 1. They just kind of got to get back into the rhythm, get the timing back, make everything be fluid again. And now that you go back home, this is a team that you lost to last year on the road, who you were up against. And I think now, so you got a little bit of the revenge factor there as well. It's a very interesting game, and I think contrasting styles make it a must-watch. You've got Oregon's high-power, high-speed, flashy-colored offense against a tough, stout defense behind, again, a tough, stout quarterback built for that defense in Mark D'Antonio and with his quarterback in Connor Cook. So I think it's going to be an interesting matchup. I think I'm picking Oregon to win still. I just think right at this point, the offense for Oregon is just you plug and play. I think when you have a quarterback, it's quarterback friendly because of how fast it is, how good the spacing is, how everything just works and meshes. I think Mark Helfrich and the coaching staff there do such a good job at making the life of the quarterback easier. Now that's not saying that that's a knock on Oregon quarterbacks, because I think Marcus Mariota is as good as they come, and I think he's going to have a good amount of success in the NFL. But I think it makes it easier for the quarterback because their system is so hard to figure out. And when you go as quickly as you do, in Michigan State, they got some big boys up front. And when you go as fast as they do, as soon as the first, as they call a play, the next play is already in and they know what they want to run. There's no time wasted for the Oregon Ducks. Vernon Adams Jr. has got great athleticism. I do think that this game will be a little bit of a struggle, but I do think that the Oregon Ducks win. The biggest thing that I want to watch out for is how do they correct their mistakes defensively, Oregon, from week one. Again, 42 points against Eastern Washington is not acceptable. You cannot be giving up, and you can't expect to have a good season, especially in the Pac-12, with so many teams that love to open up with the open air raid offense and throwing gunslinging the ball. You're going to give up. I mean, when you play a Josh Rosen, when you play Kessler, when you play guys like that in the Pac, you're going to give up a lot of yards if you showed what you did against Eastern Washington. So clearly the defensive adjustments are going to be a big factor in this one. But at the end of the day, I think it's close. I think it's close for a while. I think it could play out a lot like it did last year. Obviously, Vernon Adams Jr. isn't Marcus Mariota, and that's unfair to kind of put that expectation on him. But I do think Oregon's offense is good enough. Royce Freeman is as good as they come, and I think this is one of those games where he could start to have his own legacy-defining moments, because I think Royce Freeman is terrific. I mean, you talk to a lot of scouts, and a lot of people will tell you he's the most physically gifted player on the Oregon Ducks roster. He's got the speed, the power, and he's just a tremendous athlete, and he just can turn on the jets. He can run through you. I think his incorporation, helping Vernon Adams Jr. lead that offense, is going to be a big factor here. But I cannot wait for this game. I think whenever you can't get a look, I mean, week one, you really just want to get a taste of everything. You want to get a taste of Ohio State and Tennessee and LSU and Alabama. You want to see everybody. But unfortunately, sometimes you can't see everybody, and Oregon was one of the cases there. But the stage is set. The stage is brighter than it was last week for both teams, especially. I mean, Eastern Washington, Michigan State didn't really have the toughest task for their first week as well. So the stage is set. It's going to be fun. Again, I'm going with the Oregon Ducks here. I think it's going to be a fantastic matchup. Really, really excited for it. I mean, I just cannot wait to see Vernon Adams and really just sink my teeth into it and just digest and analyze how that Oregon offense, what are the differences, I mean, especially from last year. How does he put his little spin on it? Because while Oregon's offense will be the same for the most part, Vernon Adams has got a little bit of a different way of him doing things, you would think. And especially for Mark Helfrich, he's still got to transition him into that a little bit. But it's going to be a very good matchup, going with Oregon. We'll be back later in the day with the rest, but again, this is the highlight of the matchup. This is the best one to be looking out for. If I have to be in front of a TV on Saturday, the only game that I'm making sure I'm there for is Oregon-Michigan State. But don't go anywhere. We'll be back soon.